Well, hey there, Modern Math Teacher. Welcome back to the Modern Math Teacher podcast, where we believe math is so much more than just solving for X. This is not your mama's math class. This is the Modern Math Teacher podcast. And today we're going to continue our summer poolside PD book study of math therapy. All right. And today we are going to dive into chapter 4, which means we are officially hitting our halfway mark in the book and our halfway mark in this series. And I'm super excited about it. Now, this chapter really challenged me, okay? Not because it told me that I needed to become a different teacher, but because it made me think a lot more intentionally about the classroom environment that I'm creating for my students. One of my favorite things, actually, about this book is that Vanessa never suggests lowering expectations. In fact, she's an advocate for the exact opposite. I love this. You guys, that challenge isn't to make math easier. Our challenge is to make the learning feel safer, and those are two very different things. So when I first saw the title of this chapter, I really wasn't sure what we were going with when we said moderate. But I loved that Vanessa caught me right up, right? She described it in 3 different ways. First, we help students recognize where they experience math trauma or anxiety. Second, we're going to help lessen the intensity of these emotions by giving our students tools and strategies to manage them, right? To moderate them. And finally, we can help our students adjust their responses so the anxiety and defeat don't interfere with the learning. Now, I loved that framing because moderation isn't about eliminating discomfort, right? And let's be honest, learning math is sometimes going to be uncomfortable, okay? Productive struggle is uncomfortable. Perseverance, it's uncomfortable. And the goal isn't to remove those experiences, you guys. The goal is to keep those feelings from becoming overwhelming enough that the students shut down before they even begin. Now, one of the things I appreciated so much about this chapter was that she asked teachers to reflect on their own math stories. And I'll admit, my first reaction was, I don't really think I have math trauma. And then I started thinking. And in high school geometry, I was in the honors program, right? We had a project where we had to build a 3-dimensional polyhedron, and my angle calculations weren't quite right, and my model ended up being just a little bit off. That project dropped my entire grade, and I was devastated. Right? I can still picture myself. She's got my project up on her desk. I am in one of the back rows. Not because I'm like trying to sit in the back. That's just where my assigned seat was. And we've got this big old board in front of us where we would have to copy everything down by hand because nobody gave us guided notes back then. And I'm sitting back there and I see my project on there and I see the grade that is attached to it. And I am just fuming and furious and crying like, whew. So clearly, I have a little bit of trauma to unpack there, okay? So looking back now, I realized, it wasn't really just about the geometry. It was about my identity. I had always been an honor student. I expected perfection. I was going to be perfect. I was a 4.0 student, darn it. But when that didn't happen, I actually chose not to continue the honors sequence the following year, okay? I dropped from that sequence entirely because of that one moment. How crazy is that? Then, a few years later, I'm in college, go green, Michigan State University. I took a class called linear algebra. If you know, you know, okay? If you have ever wrestled with eigenvalues and vectors, you know what I am talking about. It was literally the hardest math class I had ever taken at that point. And I didn't fail, okay? I didn't. But my grade wasn't high enough because math was my major. So I had to retake the course. Those are both experiences of math trauma. I was not a student who needed to retake a math class. What do you mean? I'm great at math. No, that wasn't good enough. I have to do it again. What is this? Guys, who knew? Who knew that I needed math therapy? Evidently, Vanessa did. That's why she wrote this book for all of us to come to terms and grapple with these ideas all on our own. Okay, so it wasn't because the math was bad, right? And these were the experiences that shaped the stories that I told myself. And I think that is an important reminder that math trauma doesn't only happen to our students who struggle. Sometimes it happens to students who believe they should never struggle. And when they do, it destroys them. Okay, deep breath. Recentering myself on this. Okay. So let me think. One of my favorite activities from this chapter is having students revisit their math stories. So I've already planned to have my Algebra Proficiency Lab students write a math autobiography during the first week of school, right? I shared that, I don't know, an episode or two ago. I'm like binging these, okay? So just bear with me. This chapter rather, helped me realize that's only the beginning. The goal isn't simply to write a math story. The goal is to be able to rewrite their math story, to revisit it later in the semester and ask what parts of my story are changing. What evidence do I have that I'm becoming a different math learner? And that, you guys, I think is so incredibly powerful. And I'm very excited for my students to do that part again. Have their original autobiography, look at it a quarter into the year. What is your version of it now? Look at it again at the semester. What's your version of it now? It's something you can honestly repeat as many times as you want, okay? Now, there is something in here that challenged me to think about something that I am used to doing in my classroom, and that's cold calling. I deeply believe in equitable participation, and I don't want the same 3 students answering every question. So I intentionally invite all students into the conversation. But Vanessa talks about how public embarrassment can become part of someone's math trauma, and that's giving me a moment to pause and think and reflect. I don't think my takeaway is that we should stop cold calling our students. I think I'm still going to, but I think the better question is, have I built a classroom where cold calling feels safe, right? My students always have options. They can say, I don't know. They can ask a friend to jump in. But I'm also realizing that I need to build confidence first. And that's why I'm really excited about routines like the notice and wonder, which one doesn't belong, same and different, and other low stakes thinking routines, because students can experience success contributing their ideas before I ask them to justify more complex mathematical reasoning. And so for me, moderation doesn't mean it's removing accountability. It's reducing unnecessary fear. So I'm excited to start establishing that routine early on. Cold calling. What do you notice? What do you wonder? Anything that they can safely give an answer to. So that as I continue to cold call later on, they're going to be more confident just giving me an answer. Even if that answer is, I'm not sure, Ms. Moore, what degree is that function? Can you remind me, what does a degree mean? Ask me a question. I would rather you ask me a question than just say, I don't know. So things that I am thinking about and I'm excited to dissect. And actually, I'll probably be talking about cold calling when Juliana Tapper joins me for a podcast interview later this summer. So be excited about that. Okay. Let me think. So, another part of the chapter that really resonated with me was Vanessa's discussion of labels. Okay. So I started thinking about next school year and I realized something. 5 of the 6 classes that I'll be teaching contain students who carry some kind of label. Some of these students have the label honors students. Other students have the label pro lab students, intervention students. And officially, it's a proficiency lab because we're developing proficiency, right? But students know it's a support class. And whether they say it out loud or not, a lot of them already carry the story, I'm behind, I'm bad at math, I'm not one of the math kids. At the same time, my honors students often carry a completely different burden, one that I evidently felt myself back in the day. They believe they're supposed to understand everything immediately, that they shouldn't struggle, that mistakes somehow threaten who they are. Hello, dropping from the honors program, okay? Different labels, different stories. So the work, I don't know, it's not removing the label, but the work is helping students rewrite the story that they attach to it. And that is where believe, behave, become comes roaring back to life. The more I think about it, the more I think that's exactly what ProLab is becoming. First, I need to help my students change what they believe about mathematics and themselves. Then we develop new habits and behaviors. They reflect, they ask questions, they persevere, they celebrate their growth, and then eventually they become someone who sees themselves differently. And that is so much bigger than just learning algebra. Okay. Now, one thing I really appreciate is that Vanessa, of course, provides dozens of possible actions and activities. Not because she wants us to do them all, right? But because every teacher has different strengths. Like one of my coworkers, Laura, she is incredible at mindfulness. Her students love beginning assessments with like breathing exercises, moments of calm. She gives them this great brain dump space. She's got really nice little GIFs or memes on, they're not GIFs because it's printed, memes on their test paper that remind them to breathe and that they're amazing, right? Another one of my coworkers, Christy, has always had a classroom rule that students don't use the word easy. Okay. And both of those are amazing examples of moderating math anxiety. For me, my strengths are reflection, I think. Journaling, favorite mistakes, goal setting, classroom discussion, and that's okay. I don't have to become Laura. I can learn from her and implement some of her things. I don't have to become Christy. I can learn from her and also implement some of her things. What I need to do is become a more intentional version of myself. And I hope that's encouraging for you too. Now, if I had to choose one thing I am definitely implementing this year, it is the math therapy version of the classroom agreement. Okay. I've been creating classroom agreements. Oh my gosh. A decade, maybe, ever since learning about the social contract through capturing kids' hearts. Then I've been using that. I had a class contract or a social contract, depending on the year. I changed what it was called. Then, now that we've adopted illustrative math, they begin the year by creating a math community norms. Love it, right? So this chapter really helped me realize that these ideas aren't separate from math therapy. They are math therapy. So this year, I'm planning to blend the questions from illustrative math and Vanessa's math therapy agreement and create a living classroom agreement with each of my classes. Not something students create and sign once in August, but something we continue to visit throughout the year, because the classroom culture we build together is going to determine whether students feel safe enough to grow. And that is the goal. Okay. So as we wrap today's episode, I would love for you to reflect on a couple of questions for me. What labels do your students carry before they even walk into their classroom? How might those labels shape the stories that they are telling themselves? What routines or language already exist in your classroom that help students feel psychologically safe? And I want you to go head on over to the Facebook group this week and share one classroom routine you already use that helps students feel safe about taking mathematical risks, because you're an amazing teacher and I know you've already got some of these routines down pat, and we want to live and learn and grow together. So tell us one idea from the chapter you're excited to implement this school year. And remember, if you're just joining the summer book study, it's not too late. Grab the physical book or the audio book, links in the show notes. Come jump in with us. Next episode, we're going to continue working through the math therapy framework and explore our next step together. Until then, you guys, keep reflecting, keep growing, and as always, keep it real.